9. Well, John,
Well, Dave,
it's Q&A day, and
it is.
despite everything I've said, you convinced me to do it live. So,
So what? We're live right now?
theoretically,
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah. Look, I just pulled this up. We are live right now. How about
there
that?
you go. There you go.
How about that?
This is the only way to do it, John, to go live with zero prep. Just
love it.
just launch and see what happens.
You never know.
You have informed me that we have a lot to go through today, which is super cool. So let's just dig right in. What do we got?
It's just there's a lot of comments, a lot of lengthy comment here.
That's awesome.
And that means people are talking. And you know what happens when people talk?
Well, then they talk more, and then you
And
get angry and comment.
And then someone goes to jail. So,
well, hopefully not that last bit, but
well, you never know, right? All right. So the good news is no one's watching but us right now. So let's get into it. Here we go.
Excellent. Perfect. Perfect.
All right. Q&A. We're going to begin with the generic Q&A. Now, this is Q&A comments that didn't really directly come from a song per se, or were in general, or were Q&As based on our last Q&A.
Which is always a circular fun thing.
Oof, boy, are we getting confused here. So we're going to start with, from the previous Q&A, Jeff Huff, H-A-U-F. My mother told me never to huff. So he says, so the L. Ron Hubbard boat story explains the section of, I assume, the video game Fallout 2. With the big ship housing the followers of Hubbology created by Dick Hubbard.
Yes, that is spot on. That is exactly where they took it from. I love that someone got that reference. I remember playing that game years ago. And absolutely, yes, that is where the entire story came from. There's a really fascinating podcast. I don't listen to it a ton because I try to surround myself with positive things. But every now and then, if they publish a person I'm really curious about, I'll check out a podcast called Behind the Bastards. And the entire podcast is just the history of terrible people. And so sometimes it's interesting, but like it can be just depressing if you listen to too much of it. And I don't think that's a good mental space to be in. I can't imagine how the guy who does the podcast, how his brain actually is. But they did a multi-part series on L. Ron Hubbard and went through a lot of the history of him trying to start his libertarian things and all of that. But super fascinating. Highly recommend it if you want to check it out. Behind the Bastards, just look for the L. Ron Hubbard series or the Scientology series on that.
Now, what's hilarious, Dave, is that the first person to actually chime in here on our live stream is Elrond W, and we talked, right? And we talked about, we wondered if he was named for Elrond, and one of the things that I have to bring up is him saying no. But here he is, he's saying no in the live chat right now.
He's named after the elf, not the author.
That's it.
Excellent. One is far more uplifting.
That's hilarious. All right, thanks for joining us there, Elrond. Good to have you along. All right, so there you go. So this Jeff says that he knew that they were mocking Scientology, but didn't understand the reason for putting them on a boat, on a ship. So there you go, all explained. Next, let's move on to Clockwork Angel. Now, 2 weeks ago, Clockwork Angel said, Dave, have you listened to La Villa Strangiata again, but without the polka intro? In other words, have you listened to La Villa Strangiato, the studio version?
The answer is yes. Yes, I have.
Okay. And do you want to make a comment on that?
I think that if I had to sum it up, it would be missing polka.
Okay, fair enough for that.
I just think the polka was like a really fun little thing that made the piece itself like more jarring when it begun because you just did not see it coming. But was it a very good version? Did I thoroughly enjoy it? Absolutely. It was cleaner and easier to listen to, as studio recordings are always over live recordings. That's not a knock on Rush or their live performance. That's just the nature of recording in a venue that is massive as opposed to a sound-walled studio. So,
yeah, I'll say Rush Live is some of the best live recordings, though, of live recordings out there. They really do master them very well. Okay, also from Clockwork Angel, from a question from the very most recent Q&A, she or he says, the B-52 space modulator is what Bugs Bunny stole from Marvin the Martian. I had asked you, what on earth is a B-52? But hold on, don't owe yet, because that's not the end of the story. Trump RDR2 says, I think it was called an Illudium Q-36 explosive space modulator, to which Unius ATQW, formerly known as Lesterlex, says, the reference is, I believe, one of Marvin the Martian's weapons, the uranium PU-36 explosive space modulator from the cartoon Haredevil Hair.
So there's this YouTube show called Actually that I really enjoy that just was referenced basically here. It's a quiz show. It's your Jeopardy or whatever, but the entire premise of the show is that the host says a statement that contains false information, and the contestants must go, actually, then correct whatever was wrong in the statement. That series of comments, that's all I could think the whole time. That was well played. You know, sometimes the internet just restores my love of humanity.
Well, we went from B-52 to Q-36 to PU-36.
And you might all be right. It's the best part. Yeah. I don't know enough to...
Yeah.
They might all be correct references.
Hey, I believe every one of you. Somehow.
Oh, that was good.
Okay. Blue Jazz. We like Blue Jazz. He is your insulter-in-chief. He's the head insulter of the station. And what I've done, though, with Blue Jazz is I've taken... sometimes I don't want to just, read what he wrote because there's a great insult. So I've taken a bunch of his insults, and we're going to end today's Q&A with a series of insults.
Okay. So I do love everything about that.
Hey, there you go. That's the cliffhanger ending here so far, is you got to watch to the end when I get to hit Dave with a litany of insults. And Dave loves them.
I do. They make me laugh really hard.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to say this. Blue Jazz says, talk is excellent, front to back, in my opinions. Screw the critics. A guy once said, just because you don't understand what's going on, don't mean it don't make no sense. And just because you don't like it, don't mean it ain't no good.
Remember... Wait. Yeah. That statement is fascinating.
It is.
So the first half of that statement doesn't make sense. But the second half of that statement, I agree with wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Which is just a weird thing. Huh. Does he quote? Like, is that an actual quote, or is that just something blue like Jazz?
A guy once said, quote, just cause, C-U-Z, you don't understand what's going on, going without the G on the end, don't mean it don't make no sense, semicolon, and just cause, C-U-Z, you don't like it, comma, don't mean it ain't no good, exclamation point, quotation.
I reverse my earlier statement. I agree with that whole quote, and I like it very much now that I've understood it fully. The problem was the first time it didn't make no sense.
You had to hear it slower. Then he says, I remember the lead tinsel spirals, even though my parents didn't celebrate Xmas. So you could always gift the rest of your tinsel to Rusty Redbeard with some ranch dipping sauce. So there you got an insult early.
I do like that. But to be clear, I've never done that in my life. That was all John that went ahead.
But he's saying I should give you the rest of our lead tinsel so that you can enjoy it.
I'm okay.
With some ranch dipping sauce.
I'm okay. I do like ranch. That? No, I do like ranch. Like, he's got me pegged there. But I mean, I'm good. I don't need to weirdly eat lead tinsel.
Okay, there you go. Well, I did at the time, and I still don't know why, except it tasted good. We discussed to me the amazing new fact that you could get Yes Talk available streaming. You informed me via text a few days later that it's been available on iTunes for a longer period of time.
My uncle-in-law, Ed, he said he's had it on iTunes for a long time. He also has it on CD, to be clear. So apparently it's been out there for a while. So I'm super curious.
The original CD, yes, they're not printing them. They're not pressing them anymore.
Well, yeah, obviously.
So you could get the original, and you can buy used versions, I'm sure, on eBay and other places. They're just not pressing it anymore. And for the longest time, I mean, this is 1994, Dave, and it just became available on Spotify like really recently, and before that on iTunes maybe a few years ago or a year ago or something. So this really has been in limbo. Anyway, Fred Tepper says the Yes bit is very interesting. When the album came out, this is a great story. I was doing CGI, says Fred Tepper. Visual effects and animation, he explains, because not everybody's a nerd.
Fair enough.
In Hollywood, and a friend who had a boutique FX company had me come over to chat about a new project. It turns out he was contacted by John Anderson to do a video for the album Talk.
That's cool. But
he said,
but did it happen?
He said he thinks the song was for State of Play. As a huge Yes fan, this was great news for him, Fred Tepper. But soon after, like maybe a week, it went away. He just assumed Yes changed their mind about what they wanted or something like that. He didn't know Victory Music went bankrupt until he watched our Q&A from last week.
So the video never happened then?
Video never happened. But now it all makes sense to him, and he thanks us for solving a 28-year-old mystery.
Well, that was all you, John. That was all news to me, too. It was very interesting news. I always love learning that something exists and then immediately being told, but you can't have it. And then being told later in the same conversation, but now you can. It was a whole roller coaster of emotions.
Well, you've experienced that in the world of board games. You're a big board gamer, and you know that there are board games that just aren't out there anymore.
Yeah, some of them I own, and I will never trade or get rid of because I literally cannot ever purchase them again. So, yeah. I've looked at my collection before and been told by people like, oh man, did you know that board game could sell for $700, $800, $900? A board game I picked up for, $40, $45.
Right.
And I don't care because then I couldn't play it again.
Right.
And it's not about the money. So.
Okay. Moving on, Triple Centuries. This is the first time I remember seeing a post from Triple Centuries. Begins to try and figure out where I'm from, Dave.
Well, 300 years. I'd love to hear what you conjectured.
That's only his friends call him. His closest friends call him.
Sorry,
300 years.
I'll call him T-Cent.
T-Cent. Isn't he a rapper?
Any guesses? Yeah, Triple Century, T-Cent, definitely a rapper.
I'm thinking John Doe is from Westchester, Pennsylvania vicinity, with his mention of the Gay Street exit. He said, following you for a time, I remember he making other Philadelphia references. Thought maybe you'd mention the come in gay and go out high. See, where he's talking about, and I am familiar with it, there's Gay Street and there's High Street. So when you're taking directions to Westchester University, they tell you to come in gay and go out high.
I mean, that sounds like a good afternoon to me.
Or you can come in high and go out gay. Whatever. I guess whichever works best for you. By the way, he says, I'm from New Holland, Lancaster County, or Lancaster County, depending on where you're at and how it's pronounced. I actually lived in Westchester in the mid-'80s. Blue Jazz says, I'm actually in Lehigh, Pennsylvania.
I know exactly where that is.
He didn't say Pennsylvania, I did.
Yeah.
To which I said, I toast you with a Yingling and a Rolling Rock.
Enjoy your water.
To which he said, let the giant midget drink that. Get a Sharpie ready for when he passes out. Tell him it's herbal tea. I'll pour some. He says, I'll pour some McKellen 18 for the discerning palates. And then he gave me some hieroglyphics.
I don't like McKellen 18. I don't like peaty scotches.
What?
Anyone who made that reference will understand what I've just said.
PD?
Peaty. Like peat, Scotch often tastes like peat moss, the older ones especially, and I'm not a fan of that. But
okay.
Anyway, I'll sip my herbal tea.
Yeah, sip your herbal Rolling Rock.
Oh, also, hello, Rush fan 1974, Dave.
Aha. Hello, hello, fella. Rush fan 1974, Dave. Well, it can't be our Dave because our Dave wasn't born then. So I guess
I was not born in 1974. Yeah. I was 12 years later.
Yeah.
I will say I've actually joked with John that if you were dedicated enough, you could absolutely watch enough of our videos.
Ixnay on the latte about Educated Day.
Yeah, figure out who he is.
No.
And then be real disappointed.
That's getting edited out, I'm sure. All right, let's go to some talk about songs. Let's start with Digital Man. Digital Man.
I did like that one a lot.
All right. GJKORFIN Hayes.
Gee golly willikers.
Let me try and figure out how one would pronounce this.
Sometimes I think people just smash the keyboard because they don't feel like coming up with a username, and I get it.
I think this is GJ Corfinhays.
Corfinhays? That actually is kind of fun. All right, welcome from Deutschland.
He or she says, I'm going to stir the pot a bit.
Ooh.
If you're dead when your consciousness is transferred to a copy, are you also dead when you get transported via Star Trek transporter?
Oh, you know what? That's not stirring the pot at all. I've had this conversation, and let me tell you.
Wait a minute, there's got to be a nerd alert sounder.
So that is an ongoing theory that if you have ever been transported, you died, and there's just a clone of yourself on that planet, and then you kill the clone and transport it back up to the ship or wherever else it is. So that is an ongoing discussion in that there are a lot of people that think transporter technology literally is a murder technology. You get murdered, and then you get cloned, and your clone is now the new you. And so if you've been transported a ton of times, you're actually just a copy of an ongoing copy.
Wow.
So I mean, obviously it's a technology that's ridiculous. They had to literally invent the Heisenberg compensator as I would say joke personally that they make during the series. Because obviously transportation technology is not physically possible as we currently understand the universe. So they had to have a compensator for the reason we think it's not possible. But I don't know. Once again, I am kind of a little bit in that camp. I kind of think it maybe you are a clone. Maybe that's not really you. But either way, consciousness transfer, 100%, I think that's a copy. Transporter technology, like 95%, it's probably a copy. You just kind of like learn to live with it.
Which is kind of wacky.
Yeah. Like, well, if you think about it, like you wouldn't really know any better, would you?
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't know any better.
No, but I have trouble believing that your consciousness ceases on the transporter pad. And then when you're wherever else you're going, your consciousness picks back up. It makes more sense to say in reality, you sort of cease to exist then. And a new you begins its existence with all prior memories at a new location. But that seems like a problem for way in the future. Not a me
deep
problem.
Stuff, man. This is deep stuff.
Usernames are the new personalized license plates.
Yeah, that's what Rushfan 1974 Dave just said.
Mm-hmm.
Don't disagree.
You know who disagrees with that? YouTube user Mark.
Yeah, that's the truth. You remember Mark?
I remember Mark because you got the name just Mark, and I'm impressed.
Well, we got some other names coming up, so they might disagree as well. But this one, Steamer 0II,
Stanley Steamer. He's got his own YouTube channel.
I guess, says, it never struck me before, but the line, he won't need a bed, he's a digital man, sounds like a description of a very modern phenomenon. Reminds me of going down a wiki wormhole all night or doom scrolling the news. It's amazing how Neil's lyrics can seem so timely and relatable even 40 years later. In 1982, the IBM 5150 personal computer was a new thing, and it would be another year before IBM released a model with a hard drive, 10 megabyte hard drive. So Signals was really a futuristic album for the time.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, that's not what he would have written it about because that didn't exist. But doom scrolling, I've only heard that term used a few times. And it is, just before we started recording this video, we were having a conversation about exactly that. About John had just discovered that Google algorithms don't respond to positive.
Just positive.
Yeah, just positive. They respond to all whatever interactions. And that's how all of the algorithms work. Elron, enjoy work. I'm so sorry for you.
Elron.
But yeah, that's why doom scrolling is a thing, because the algorithm just wants you to keep scrolling. It doesn't care if you like it or hate it or rage or smile, which is sad.
All right, now we're on to one of those guys who puts his name out there on the interweb with Tim Wright. Tim Wright comments, do I get a bonus for watching past the original sign-off? Now, something I had forgot, Dave, is that a digital man we spent about 6 minutes during the instrumental section in the middle of the song, and we went off on a tangent, and I realized that this had nothing to do with the song, and perhaps we should shove it down to the end of the video. So I edited it out and pushed it down to the end, but I still ended our video with the typical indie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well done. You get kudos from me.
Yeah.
I don't even think I noticed you did that. I think I might have turned the video off.
Gotcha. So there you go, Tim Wright. Good discovery. That was when I did the little, and now for something completely different at the end of it, and pushed our stuff over beyond that.
Yeah, that's something I've been doing for years on my board game podcast, and with my buddies Mark and Dan, unrelated to Mark of YouTube fame. We realized that we would have like 12, 15 minutes of sound check and us just chatting and warming up and all that. And some of it we thought was very funny. So I ended up editing it down and putting it on the end of our podcast because it had nothing to do with the content of the podcast.
That's it. For those of you just tuning in, this is the Q&A. It's live, and we're going to also edit it and release it on Saturday. Tim Wright says, of course, after the original sign-off thing, on the Facebook thing, my youngest son passed away 7 years ago. I'm sorry to hear that, Tim. I had access to his Facebook account, but someone notified Facebook that he was deceased, so Facebook memorialized his page. At that point, no one can sign on to his account ever again. You can view the page and make posts and comment, but you can't sign on, even if you had the sign-on credentials. And no one can make a friend request to the page ever again. The only way around this is to set a legacy contact to your page through setup and privacy controls. But that has to be done before you pass away. So this is great advice. Thank you, Tim. Right now, folks, if you have a Facebook account and death is potential for you, which it is for everybody, I would find those legacy contact information and get it set up so that someone can either continue and maintain your page for you or end it when you end. I mean, at least you have a choice there. So he said he was angry about it at first, that they did so without any notification of anybody. But what really, if you think about it, what can Facebook do?
I mean, they can take it down.
Yeah,
or they can take it down but send the family all of the data on it, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't have an answer. It's a good question because it's never been a question we had to answer before.
How many people die each day, and how many of them have Facebook accounts? How many people would Facebook have to hire to research and accurately give the rights to these pages to family and not screw up? And can you imagine the lawsuits if they did? So it's difficult.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. That is a fascinating question. That is a very recent question to need answering.
Yeah. So anyway, go to your Facebook controls and look for legacy contact. Set it up before it's too late. That's what Tim says.
My advice is to delete Facebook, but that's a different thing entirely.
Mike 80528. I wonder if he lives in area code 80528.
Oh, that is an area code. I don't know.
That would put him somewhere, in the Midwestern, western part of the country, huh? Is sentient the same as conscious, says Mike? I would argue they're not. I would argue a program could be sentient, but not truly conscious. Love the Bobiverse. So well written. I don't know what a Bobiverse is.
I referenced it in the video. It's a series of books. Very, very good series of books.
With complex science that is not inconsistent with what we know of the universe. So well done. That all said, if we were to ever explore space, I think it would be with our thought processes applied to AI as a machine, and machines would have to evolve to gain consciousness or not. I would argue that it is possible, but I do not think we as human beings can survive long-term space travel, and will die off here on the place of our creation.
I think we will all of us on and watching this video, I think we will all die off on this planet with very few to zero exceptions. In the future, who knows? Obviously cool stuff can be invented, but I don't know. Is there a difference between consciousness and sentience? I think there would have to be, right? I would say that my dog is conscious. Well, okay, he's semi-conscious. That's a bad example.
Right. Yeah, it's a
I would say that he's conscious, but I'm not sure at what level sentience truly takes place. my personal opinion, and I don't have anything to back this up, this is pure opinion. I think sentience, true sentience, takes place when one can knowingly contemplate their own death.
Mm.
Neelix does not contemplate his own death. He runs around and chases things and has fun. And like he doesn't sit around going, wow, man, I should really enjoy this sunset today.
Because
Because
I
one
may not
day,
be here next week to
yeah,
listen to enjoy it.
exactly. There's no more sunsets for me at some point in the
Right.
future.
Right.
That's never a thing that he suffers with. So to me, that has always been my personal like point at which you depressingly become sentient is the ability to philosophize about who you are and how you won't be one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know he doesn't contemplate death, but from his actions, I don't think he does.
Okay. Understood. Dukes Rocks, a regular contributor, says, I believe in an interview with Getty or Neil mentioned the influence of the song was based on a sound engineer that came to the studio to do some work for them. I believe this engineer that day had quite a big workload and asked him if he needed some rest, and he said he wasn't tired and could keep going.
All right.
He continues, my take on the song is about a person being a workaholic, not having much time for anything else. The break chorus, I believe, I think he meant alludes to this. He plays fast forward just as long as he can, won't need a bed, he's a digital man. In the actual chorus, it's interesting, Pert uses biblical references. Zion, he mentions Zion, which is a holy place, I think refers to the person not having time for religion. The next reference is spend a long while in Babylon, which is a city of sin, but I believe Pert is referring to the hustle and bustle. The last reference is lovers' wings to fly on to a tropic isle on Avalon. Avalon is a tropical paradise, and I believe this reference refers to relationships and vacations.
It could absolutely be. I'm a very firm believer in slowing down and enjoying your life because, I do think this is all we have. So enjoy it while you can. And I've never met an old person who sat around saying, man, I wish I spent more time at work.
Yeah.
So I think that is part of what's always gotten me here is just I've never experienced that. I've met a lot of old people. I worked in nursing homes. And I've never once met one that was like, man, working was the best. I should have ignored my family and friends for more hours a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a rare thing, I'm sure. Dukes Rocks also thinks it's interesting. We both mentioned movie references. Analog Kid reminds him of Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox, Kid dreaming about the big city in corporate America. Digital Man reminds him of Click with Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Person, workaholic, ruined his family relationship. He just fast-forwarded through life.
Well, and Click is nothing more than an old, I want to say Aesop's fable based on the golden fleece. And, or the golden twine string, something like that. And it was an old story where this Greek guy was given, was given like a ball of yarn, and he could pull the string anytime he wanted time to go faster. And so anytime he was doing anything he didn't like, he would just pull a little more of the string. And then he'd pull a little more of the string. And then he realized suddenly he was almost out of string and he couldn't put it back in. And so it's one of the fables that's about like enjoying your life. Actually, Rushman 1974 Dave I don't know when, I just noticed it, said perhaps my dog Neelix. What's he doing now? Oh, he moved positions. See, he's living his best life.
He did.
Perhaps he lives life to the fullest, knowing each moment could be his last. You've just made me real depressed about my dog's napping habits now, because what you've said is that to the fullest is getting all the naps in, and maybe I'm living life wrong.
Yeah. I could use a nap, I gotta tell you. I might fall asleep if this conversation keeps going this way. This is heavy stuff. So
I will just, and this will probably be the last thing I say on this. I think that the contemplation of death and the ability to stop and enjoy the view are the two things. If I wanted to add one more on the joyful note, when we take him on hikes, we'll go hike and we'll have fun together. And then I'll stop at the top of the mountain and I'll enjoy the view. And he gets angry and he gets antsy and he's like, nuzzle me. And he's like, man, let's go. We got more mountain to go sniff. I got squirrels to chase, and maybe it's because he knows every moment could be his last. And so he needs to go enjoy it. But I tend to think it's that he doesn't have the understanding to stop and simply be in the moment and enjoy the view.
Right. He's not human. He doesn't need to reflect. He doesn't need to enjoy art.
Yeah, but
What
I
he needs
will
to do
speak for him
is
all the time.
run and have fun. That's what he needs to do. And the final comment so far on the Digital Man, TJ says, "You're dead. It's just a copy." That's something I believe he quoted you there.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "We already have that technology. It's called children and hieroglyphics."
Children. That's not a copy. That's what's it called? An amalgamation?
An amalgamation?
It's a merging. It's an emulsion.
It's an emulsion. That's what it is.
Children are emulsion. That's not right, but I like it.
Yeah. Somebody contact Wikipedia. They need to correct that.
Well, I don't have children, therefore my statement stands correct in my own life. When I'm dead, I'm just dead.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the song Perpetual Change and your reaction to Perpetual Change. Blue Jazz says, "What a beautiful song. Yes is the kind of band that makes you glad to be alive. The whole album is perfection in my book," says he.
I can't speak to the rest of the album. I think that may be the only song I've heard, maybe one other, but I will agree with everything I've heard. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then he goes on to say, "It's not a lie to encourage a child to pursue their dreams. Assuming there is a narrow set of common goals that everyone shares is faulty reasoning."
Sure. Yeah, everyone's different. I mean, I think to a point that I am in that category. For all of human existence, every one of my ancestors either wanted, purposefully or accidentally, had children. And I will never. I am literally unique. I am the first one out of hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution of my ancestors, spitting out babies, that isn't going to do the same. And so that's weird. And that's a stranger life than the vast majority of humanity has always had. So, yeah, there are always exceptions. There will always be exceptions. But I think we have to make generalities at some point, or you can't really have conversations. So,
yeah, a little bit. Okay, Raymond Regis. Regis Philbin. It can't be the other Regis because he's dead. Perpetual Change again. "I love Yes, but John was ignorant of the scale of the explosives relative to the moon. It would be like the global impact of a few conventional bombs on Earth. 20 miles away, you might barely hear them. And on the moon, you wouldn't even experience sound."
Because there's not air. The sound is transmitted by air molecules smacking into each other. So
right. John G said, as to Perpetual Change, another good one. And then, Dave, to your comment, John G says, "A Yes channel would be great."
A Yes channel that'd be a different thing. I only got time for so much. And I think part of it too is I like the different things. Like I honestly have no desire to do a channel based on just one band. Part of the fun of this to me is hearing so many different musics. Yeah, I stand by it. So that is part of the fun. So we will never do a channel that is just one band, but I don't think you're being serious.
We may do split off channels so that we can get away from the heady stuff. We've talked about that briefly. You know, maybe do a channel, you know, that involves pop music of an era or whatever, oldies, whatever. But we definitely won't have a channel dedicated to one band, although some argue that this is already a Rush channel.
I mean, I think as Daniel Mann just pointed out, this is a channel where two of the handsomest men who have ever existed just talk stupid philosophy.
No, he was not talking about me, and I'm sure he'll correct that almost immediately. I'm like the big purple sore you try and get rid of. You know, your doctor if things turn this color on your body.
If you want to see a truly good-looking man, Daniel Mann, he has a YouTube channel where he opens sports cards, and I find that to be very boring because I don't care about sports at all, and I can't stop watching his videos. So
here's what I want. I want him to never fix the lamp that falls over.
That's a reference to his last video.
That's what I want. Never fix it. Just leave it. And we'll just it'll be a Vegas bet line. You know, at what point in the video will the lamp fall over?
Oh, you already fixed it.
Too bad. Okay, let's go on to Elvis. This is the danger zone, isn't it, Dave?
For you, I don't care.
I know you don't care, but guess what? We haven't been trashed.
Mm.
I know, right? No one
I'm down.
trashed us. That's
Shockingly.
Cool. Here we go. Kevin Starr says, I bought that James Burton pink Paisley Telecaster, and that neck on that guitar is so easy to play on, and the sound is phenomenal. One of the faves in my collection. Thank you, Kevin. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever known a person who owned one. I know that it existed. I showed the picture, and that's pretty cool. Great. That's a nice telly.
I'm curious as to what makes certain guitar necks more playable than others, which just shows my ignorance of the entire industry and playing music in general.
Well, it's weird, Dave. When PRS came out, the most common thing I would hear was it plays like butter. It's just so easy to play. And
how would one play butter? Would it be sticky or no, oily, greasy? Be annoying.
Greasy, slick,
like
easy
butter.
to get around on. You know.
Oh, okay. You know what? Now that illustration makes more sense, and I've been a fool.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it has something to do with the thickness of the neck.
Maybe
the curvature of the neck, the way your hand holds it, the way it fits in your hand, that allows you to smoothly transition. I'm not a guitar player. I dabble, I can play some little teeny bits of Yes and some Zeppelin, teeny little parts, but I'm not a guitar player. So all I can speak to is that I hear people say the neck is everything.
I can play a small amount of the banjo. I took banjo lessons for a little while, and I really enjoyed that. But I did not bring the banjo on the road with me, so I gave it up.
You get a 5-string banjo, and that's I mean, that is like swimming. Hard to imagine trying to learn. The tenor banjo, like the mummers use on the Mummers Parade in Philly. That's just all you got to do. It's bar. It's like you bar one whole fret, and you got yourself a key. You got yourself a chord. So that's why it's so easy to play that, because there's no 5th string, 4 strings, and you just bar it, and you got yourself a chord. Anyway, Ike WP says, I'm a big fan of Elvis, and I enjoyed your reaction, guys. Hieroglyphics.
I like that you just say hieroglyphics now.
Yeah. You started it. You called it hieroglyphics, and now I'm not even going to tell you which hieroglyphic it is unless you ask.
Nope.
But it looked like this.
Excellent hieroglyphic.
Yeah. Todd Parsons says, thanks, guys, for this one. Sorry, one of my favorites. I don't know what he means by that.
Why would you be sorry?
I apologize, but this wasn't much of a reaction to the actual song itself. Again, thanks for the song. So that's minor critique on us for that.
And actually, I think that's probably fair. I think we spent way more time talking about Elvis throwing water onto the piano player.
Which was hilarious.
And then talking about the special guitar and the event itself being the first, streamed broadcast over satellite?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we spent a lot of time talking about that and very little about the song. So what I have to say about that critique is spot on.
By the way, Daniel Mann just commented again. Apparently now we know one of his fetishes. He says, also in humans, the neck is everything.
If there's one thing I like in humans, it's an easy neck.
Yeah.
I like it when it's easy to play.
Daniel Mann, how often are your hands around the neck of humans?
Wow.
Anyway. All right, Blue Jazz says on the Big Hunk of Love, you won't get a sour note from that man. And he says like butter. Now Elvis's voice is like butter.
Apparently, all of Elvis is just butter references.
And if it wasn't, he'd have buttered it up anyway. I apologize. He says, Mark is on now. Now we got the gang.
Yeah, but not the good Mark. Not Mark of YouTube fame.
Well, okay. A good Mark is here. He suggests that the reason the neck is important is it supports the important thing, the head.
I like how you think the important thing on this body is the head.
Yeah, right? I don't know about these guys.
Rush Fan says some of his best friends are Sans neck. In your face, Mark.
Yeah. Sans is French for not. Or something like that. Without. Yes. Okay. Blue Jazz is continuing their instant. Oh, let's start again because it doesn't. If I just pick it up there, it's going to be weird. You won't get a sour note from that man, Elvis, like butter. Instant panty remover, I've read. Ask Noam Chomsky if his panties disappeared after hearing this. He sounded all hot and bothered at the end. You're Noam Chomsky in that.
Yeah, no, I got the reference.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, and I rarely wear panties.
Fair enough.
Not never.
All right, so that's it for Elvis there. Let's go to Breakdown. And who did Breakdown?
That's I don't remember.
Alan Parsons Project.
Yes. This is the one that I had slightly different thoughts after we had published the video that I had while we were listening to it. I had different thoughts on my second listen. So we'll get into that.
Okay. Robin Mark says, your dogs know more than you think, Dave.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's seen things. He's seen things.
But I still think a lot of humans put a lot more. What's that word again?
Anthropomorphize. We anthropomorphize our pets.
Yes, and you want to because you love your pets and they're easier to love than your kids and your relatives because they don't ruin Thanksgiving much.
It depends on how well you've trained your dog, actually.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I don't think dogs know much more than eat now, drink now, poop now, run. I think that's the basic parts.
I think that evolutionarily that is not fully correct, purely because they're pack animals who are very good at reading social situations. It's a survival mechanism. So you need to know when the pack is about to be on the move so you don't get left behind. So there's been a lot of that. And then they've adapted to look cute and take advantage of us so that they no longer have any struggles in life, which is, I got to say, a great adaptation. They've nailed it.
What a plan,
They've solved all of their problems by looking cute and having someone else do things for them.
That could be like a whole series of books, the history of the alteration of dog mentality, where you get this one dog leader who's talking to the other dogs. He's like, look, we're struggling here. And the fact of the matter is, I've seen it enough. If we just stop and just droop our tongue out a little bit and cock our head sideways, those people will do anything for us. And we've got to change our habits here. We got to stop biting them. And, and it would be like a series showing the slow change of people buying into this new political idea.
I mean, that's what you've just said is sort of how it happened a little bit. Yeah. It wasn't as purposeful, but it was more like the dogs with calmer demeanors would go near human settlements, and then they realized we could sort of work together, and things got better. And then over time, obviously, we now very purposefully breed into them what we want, like Dan did with me.
Yeah. So Breakdown, we're continuing. Kenny Mack says, glad you got to this song. Alan Clark was the singer on that song. I said his name, but he said Alan Clark was the singer for the Hollies. And you may not remember who the Hollies are, Dave, but
I've heard the name, but
yeah. But that's interesting to know. Thank you for that fact, Kenny Mack.
I think my favorite hit of the Hollies was Just Like Buddy Holly.
No, that's Weezer, I think.
It is Weezer.
Yeah. Joe Donnell 64 says, do androids dream of electric sheep? Philip K. Dick, later adapted to the movie Blade Runner. AI was based on a short story novella also by Dick, called Super Toys, last all summer long. The film Total Recall was based on his story We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. His The Man in the High Castle was adapted for a miniseries of the same name in which Germany and Japan
I couldn't get into that.
World War II and split the U.S. between them. The Rocky Mountains was a neutral area. Japan controlled everything west and Germany to the east. There's probably a few jokes in there we'd best leave alone. For JD, FOR space JD wrote, the book I, Robot is actually a collection of short stories written by Asimov at various times. The book connects the stories in a thread through a character, Susan Calvin, who is more or less a robot psychologist.
Which is a fascinating idea.
What a thing, right? And then there's an asterisk there, and at the bottom it says, in psychology terms, breakdown would be one word. I'm like, yeah, if you use it as a verb, no, as an adjective, right? Am I thinking that right?
Yeah, I think so.
But English he says, I break down. I don't know if that's still proper as one word. Anyway, side thing. The Will Smith movie bears more resemblance to Asimov's Elijah Bailey R. Daniel Olivois, I hope this all makes sense to you, series of novels. Bailey is a cop trying to solve a murder while unwillingly being handed a partner, a robot. That's what the R in the name stands for, rather than than to the actual iRobot stories. I don't understand that. Robot. Oh,
Yeah, it's a reference to old sci-fi literature.
okay, that's fine.
I can see why you're saying that. I totally get what you're saying. I can't deny it. I don't know enough about it to to confirm nor deny.
Okay. Scenes from an Italian restaurant, Dave.
I did like that one.
Zachary Minicucci, and if anybody could speak to scenes from an Italian restaurant, I'm
It
thinking
would be Zachary
it's gonna be
Minicucci.
Zachary Minicucci, yeah, or Minisucci, I guess, possible. For the lyrics of the song, Brenda and Eddie walk into the Italian restaurant. They are the two old friends meeting for dinner at a restaurant they used to frequent and talking about their new lives. They start their initial catch-up conversation. Things are okay with me these days. Then the narrator kicks in and describes the lives of Brenda and Eddie. Brenda and Eddie were popular steadies. To when they parted ways, and here we are waving Brenda and Eddie goodbye. Then the song wraps up when they're done their dinner and parting ways again. I'll meet you anytime you want in our Italian restaurant. This is how Billy Joel described the song on his XM channel. And also the new music video they produced for it seems to match that pretty well.
Okay.
So there's that.
I mean, if that's what he says, then sure. Do I think he's wrong? Yeah. I don't care that he wrote the song, but
Okay.
but that is actually very interesting. I love going into all of these things blind because, of course, I hear the song for the first time and I do my best to figure out what it means, but I have no context. I wasn't the one who wrote it. I forget if it was on video or it might have been after we recorded the video for another Billy Joel song, where you mentioned that one of the lines in the song was specifically about a local drug dealer that was in New York. That obviously, there's
Right.
no world in which I would have known that. And so, like, it was a much more personal song to him that he wrote. And to me, of course, is just in a vacuum. I'm trying to suss it out. And I think I did very well on that song, though, the one I'm referencing. I don't know if it's been published yet, but
No, it has not.
it is always fascinating to me to hear what is going on in the heads of the writers, what is going on in the world of the writers, that really breaks down what it's about when I have to look at it through nothing more than my worldview. It's part of the fun of the channel to me is to then later learn, oh, no, actually.
Right. Well, actually, yeah. So there you go. That finishes out for now. Scenes from an Italian restaurant. Let's move on to The Stroke. Oh, I'm glad your friends are here. They're familiar with that.
You mean they're familiar with being completely screwed over in the music industry? Because
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
think they are. That's what that song's about.
That is what that song's about. Continuing that discussion there, of course, we went into that with the last Q&A, but Andrew Mannett writes, the musical quote that John thought was from a funeral dirge, remember I said, da-na-na-na, was from the Song of the Volga Boatman. Song of the Volga Boatman.
Sure, that sounds
it's an
like
old Eastern European, classical piece, basically. And you know what's funny? And he says it kind of relates to the rowing theme of the Stroke chanting.
that does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
So that all makes sense with the facts we got last time. But something else? Fun fact on Song of the Volga Boatman. Dave, did you know that during the 1940s that there was a writers' strike? And anyone in the writers' union, the songwriters' union, they were prohibited music.
Really?
Yeah. So there was a period of time, and it lasted a long time, where the big band artists weren't allowed to record new music.
Like even just instrumentals.
Even instrumentals, correct.
Interesting. So what happened?
The Glenn Miller Orchestra said, well, let's take old classics. And one of the ones they did a big band swing version of was the Song of the Volga Boatman.
Oh, now I'm going to have to look that up when this is over.
Yeah. So there you go. Little side things. And someone mentioned that. But that's why you'll hear a lot of classical redone in big band swing from a period of time when there was a writer's strike.
That is really cool. When we had the writers' strike in what was it, the late 90s, early 2000s, the TV whatever Writers Guild strike.
Yeah.
We got a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that time period as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
writers strikes end up getting things out there that never would have come out if the normal machine had been running. So that's
On the
cool.
downside, the writers' strike of that time period gave us all the reality TV that we see today.
Yeah, that's a shame.
About the negative side of that. It's
a real
unscripted television. Okay, perpetual change. Didn't we already do perpetual change? Or is that? Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got it written twice. Here's another comment from perpetual change. Nancy Johnson says, I have a yes tattoo on my shoulder, 25 years now. And I get the lyrics. You have to go way out there sometimes. But once you catch on with his vibe bingo. I guess.
No, it's once you catch on with his vibe, bingo.
Is that what it is?
That's how I would read that.
Vibe,
bingo, like it makes sense.
So a comma would have been better than a hyphen.
I don't know. I think I would have read it the same.
Yeah, but vibe bingo is a description of a type of bingo. But vibe, comma, bingo would be a pause.
Sure.
Think about that.
This is, for a music channel, we do a lot of parsing of the English language.
We do fewer.
Let's
go to this
Many
week's
much
insults. This week's insults. Davey is definitely a lover. Remember you said you're a lover, not a fighter? Sometimes with a partner, too.
That's not an insult. It's just a statement of fact.
Okay. A different kind of digital man. A little mood lighting, some soft music, and bam, he's all over himself like a cheap suit. Okay, this is the Dave insult section of the Q&A.
I've been waiting for this whole time. Also, a cheap suit. Yeah, I'm a thrifty lover.
Yes. And that's what everybody wants, Dave, a thrifty lover.
I think that's true.
Cheers to Rush Fan 74. He has to go back to work, too. All these people in their jobs.
I got to go back to work after this.
All right. There once was a primate named Dave, the smallest Sasquatch in the cave. Red and pestiferous, whilst reeking coniferous, was banished and then forced to shave.
Oh, a limerick.
A limerick, indeed.
Oh, man. A limerick insult. These are just... Is this blue jazz still?
A lot of this is blue jazz, yes.
I gotta say, that human nails it so far.
He does. He really does.
Yeah.
He says, Dave wasn't a mistake. That's just the cover story. His parents found him under the Allenhurst boardwalk foraging for stale popcorn and funnel cake.
First of all, sir, I hate popcorn. That's the only thing wrong with that statement.
Is the truth. Yeah.
I do. I hate popcorn with a burning passion. It's the worst part of going to a movie theater is the smell of buttered popcorn.
Okay. Continuing, that beard is not a real beard, though. It's an unfortunate side effect of an addiction to the smell of super glue and sharing a bed with an Irish setter.
Oh, man. Felix, you're not an Irish setter. You're a boxer black lab.
But you did grow up with an Irish setter, as I recall.
Golden retriever.
Golden retriever was
wrong again.
I'm sorry. And he continues, and being allergic to bathing, of course.
Well, you can't smell me over the internet, so why would I bathe?
But if he could, that'd be something.
If I could bathe?
That'd be a thing. No, if he could smell you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Robin Marks says, Dave must live in California, the land of fruits and nuts. To which Blue Jazz adds, and flakes. To which Robin Marks adds, probably next to Kellogg Hill, where he cruises the Arrow Highway married to a Valley girl next to Bill and Ted in San Dimas. Gag me with a spoon. To which Blue Jazz adds, he makes a living by donating himself for ethically medical procedures. Also, banned from 41 countries and Antarctica. So that's how we're going to end the insult section of today's Q&A.
Those were excellent. A series of simultaneous serial puns and Dave insults, I think, was mixed with a limerick in there. I think really those two win the day. They have won the day for me.
Mark Belial is confused. He didn't know you could be roasted on the channel. And yes, absolutely. Dave enjoys a good roasting.
I think it's hilarious.
Soup a Snipe 34 says hi.
Hello,
hi.
Soup Snipe.
All right, Dave, what do you say?
I mean, I gotta say, this has been another super fun Q&A day, and I appreciate all of you for watching. Keep the comments coming, keep the suggestions coming. Although I gotta say, our song list is huge. It's gonna take us quite a while to get through the backlog, but um, I'm excited about what's to come, given everything that I've had so far.
Looking forward to it, Dave.